Howdy ho, my peeps. It is Monday night, and I am home for the first night in quite a while. As most of you know, my mom passed away on Saturday, and I went from, dealing with the fact that she was gone to right into packing up her apartment and making all the arrangements and so forth. So I've been very busy, and I slept at her house, I guess, a couple nights. And so tonight I'm home. Anyhow, I wanted to take a bath and talk to you about something that has occurred to me since my mom passed. You can see my dirty clothes down there. Anyway, of course, all sorts of things go through your mind when you've lost a loved one. And my mom was my second parent to die, so I'm going through a whole nother set of stuff with her death. But something occurred to me while I was planning and dealing and going back and forth to the hospital and worrying about my brother and sister who weren't able to be right there with her because of where they live and there are other things that were going on in their lives. They spent every moment they could with her, but they were really struggling as well. So anyhow, this is what occurred to me. If this had happened, say, 10 years ago or longer, I wouldn't be dealing with it as well as I'm dealing with it now. And here's the reason. For a huge chunk of my life, I relied on my parents for my jobs. I worked in my parents' publishing company for years. Then after my mom paid me to do some work for her, for a few years. She also took care of my health insurance up until fairly recently. I guess it's been about two and a half years that I haven't had health insurance through her company. And so my financial life was closely tied to my mom and dad for a fairly huge chunk of my life. If she had passed when I was still relying on her so much, all of this would be a lot harder for me because I would be not just worrying about taking care of her final needs and supporting my siblings and all that stuff, but I would be worried about my own well-being. Gosh, how much longer will I be getting a paycheck? I'm probably going to have to stop that. Who knows when I'm going to lose my insurance? How am I going to pay for my bills? Blah, 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 blah. And it occurred to me that because I'm independent of my mom and dad, I don't have to worry about that stuff. They did me a great service in helping me get on my feet in my life and keeping me on my feet, but they also did a great service by letting me go. So what that's making me think is that the best thing we can do for our children is make sure that they are independent and able to function on their own as soon as possible. Some kids, by the time they hit their late teens, they can pretty much pack their knapsack and walk off, and somehow or another they're going to survive without having to, come back home. Other kids, like me, take a long, long time to launch. So what I've been thinking about my own family is that the best thing I can do is make sure that my own kids are not tied to me financially, that they have their own seed, if you know what I mean. They can grow their own life with their own seed. They don't need to continually come back to the family tree for their sustenance and all. So anyhow, do your kids a favor and turn them loose as soon as you can. Make sure. I know it seems and sounds kind of cruel sometimes when you're like, you know what, kid, you're going to have to figure this thing out on your own, or you're going to have to find your own money for this thing you want or whatever. But in reality, it's not cruel at all, because if you were to suddenly die and that kid is relying on you for safety or their well-being or their rent or their entertainment or whatever, you have left them in the lurch by not pushing them to be independent. So I'm reflecting on that right now. So many women my age, we have kids that have required more nurturing than our generation required. And there's something about the kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s, something about that time that made it made it very hard for them to launch into their own lives, especially the boys. So, you know, I don't know why that was, but I'm just glad that my kids are launching into their own lives pretty well. I had one that launched early, and one that's launched a little bit late, but I'm pretty sure that if I were to suddenly die in a car accident or of some horrible disease or something, both my kids would be able to function. They'd figure out how to function. But I know it took, you know, it took them a lot longer than it took me, and it took and it's taken so many of their friends a lot longer than it took my friends. So, and I was a late bloomer, but I was also very resourceful. So even if I had been left with like this job and this insurance, all this stuff that I had to do, I had enough resources that I think I could have gone through it okay. So anyhow, that's just what I've been thinking about. Yeah. Give your kids a platform as soon as you can. And a platform doesn't necessarily mean money and education and all of that. I mean, a platform is something that they carry around inside them, the knowledge that, you know, if they were suddenly dropped in the middle of the, you know, the urban jungle or a suburban forest or some little town somewhere, that they could figure out how to survive. That's the platform that you give them. So, and that's something that you carry around in your personality, regardless of how much money you've got in your pocket. So, anyhow, that's just what I've been reflecting on. Also, my friend Trisha from It's Trisha's Life. Many of you guys who watch me also watch her videos, and for those of you that don't know, she lost her father the same day I lost my mom. So she is, she's going through some stuff right now as well. So it's Trisha's Life, all one word. I should just link it down below. So if you want to pop on over there and give her some support, that would be really sweet. And you know, I don't know what's happened with everybody in the past week. I haven't had the opportunity to be on. So I'm going to go and I'm going to check out everyone's videos for the next few days and catch myself back up. So yeah. On that little note, I'm going to say bye-bye. I am doing well, and I'm managing to work my way through the things I have to work my way through. So, I will talk to you guys later. Bye!